because of staying for centuries in colonialism and in slavery, we always tend to the issue of money and capacity. When we talk about production of medicines here in Zambia, everyone will tell you it is impossible, we don't have capacity. What about the machinery? What about what? And it ends there. That is a spell. It is something that has made us dwarf and continue to be in a box. We need governments that aspire high, that look at impossibilities becoming possible. We have seen simple pharmaceuticals. I thought you were talking about a Zambian pharmaceutical that produces medicines here in Zambia. I would be very much clear to you to say that is encouraging. We need to get as many of these people who are trying to make medicines here in Zambia, give them business and let them grow bigger and better. That is what the leadership movement is going to do. And we have seen medicines produced here in Zambia. There is no need for crying on capacity. There is no need to think that this is an impossibility. We can only buy medicines in India. This is colonialism, and we should be working hard to get rid of this spell of colonialism. This is why leadership movement has been there. We want to preach to the Zambian people a kind of mindset that looks at them, the Zambians themselves, and see potential and see capabilities and see the possibilities of making impossible possible. That is the kind of mindset that we need in government. If we do that, in a few years, we are going to be creating a sustainable country that is able to produce many things here in Zambia, and that is true independence. Today, we are seeing how the New Dawn government cannot do anything despite being in power. It's because they did not think about how sustainable they will be. They only thought about getting money, getting support from foreigners. Here money it is, they campaign and they are in power and they get stuck. And they can only look up to those foreigners who supported them for instructions, which way to go, and so on and so forth. That's why we don't see any room for growth in this economy for as long as we have a government in power that prioritizes foreigners, that thinks that only foreigners are going to develop this country, that think that only foreign investors can manage this economy, and it trickles down to other people. That is a big problem, and we are not going anywhere.
Any other question?
I have two questions. My name is Miguel. I have two questions. One is with regards to power generation, which is in the Kariba.
Yes.
They are saying there is insufficient water for the machine to begin pumping power. And when you look at the master plan, it requires 3 consecutive years for the dam to be filled, and also if it is to deplete, it requires that the country experience drought for 3 years. None of this has experienced, but we still have water, which seems to be going down. In your opinion, where do you think is the problem? The second one is on nuclear. To sustain nuclear energy, you need infrastructure. For many years now, all the minerals are being exported, and none of these people that export the minerals have decided to set the infrastructure. As leadership movement is preparing to form government, not long from now, how long time do you give yourself to set the infrastructure which will ensure that the nuclear energy is harnessed in Zambia and it does not pose serious danger to the people in an event that there's carelessness on the part of the handlers?
First of all, when we look at the issue of water levels, issues to do with water levels are caused by so many factors. Number one, climate change, for instance. A heat that has maybe when it comes to temperature, a temperature rise by 1 degree, for instance, would make water to actually go down in terms of levels when it comes to heat and evaporation. So those are so many factors. Rains, we have been having intermittent rains in the past years, and these things can be factored in as factors that would bring the water levels down. And also the machinery itself. We have seen that there has been so many changes in terms of when we look at the Kariba Dam. There were those machines that could produce that had the capacity of was it 150, which were now upgraded to 100 megawatts. I mean 200 megawatts per generator. So if you are to produce more power, it means that you need more water. So if you upgrade from a 150 megawatt machine to a 200 megawatt machine, it means that you are drawing more water to run those turbines. So water will deplete. I think that is the problem that the PF government found itself in. And they have not changed those machines. So these are factors. What they were doing now, it was to switch off other generators and remain with only 2 to produce maybe 400 megawatts, or 3 at peak to produce 600. But the whole capacity was increased from 600 to about 900, right? 900 megawatts. So now those factors deal with management of water and the dam itself in terms of power generation, depending on the demand. So those are the factors that are technically there, and there is little that we can do to those factors as we look at it as leadership movement, and what we think for now is an alternative power. The idea that we will be discussing Kariba Dam, how much it will produce, whether we'll wait for 3 years to bring more water, and so on, those are non-issues and will not take us anywhere. What we need to be thinking about as a people is, how do we harness other sources of energy? How do we harness nuclear energy, for instance? You have said we need infrastructure. Infrastructure cannot be waited upon foreigners. We cannot sit back here and wait until America or whichever Western country bring infrastructure in this country. That's when we start moving. That is solely our decision as a people. How much infrastructure is in this country? If the New Dawn government is also doing their own infrastructures, it's about priorities. Look at the PF government. What did they prioritize in this whole, in their whole 10 years? Didn't they prioritize roads as their infrastructure? Did they do some of it? They did. So what would stop the leadership movement, for instance, from prioritizing nuclear power and its infrastructure in this country? If we have the will to do that, we will definitely do it, because infrastructure is made by governments who have the willpower to do it. But governments who feel that they cannot do it, remember before PF, many governments believed that roads are very expensive, they cannot do it, and Zambians thrived in lack of roads. And governments that had the will to do that, they did it. I'm not discussing how they did it, whether they got loans and whichever way. We are not talking about that. We as leadership movement have been clear. How do we raise the money? We have been very clear. Number one, first thing we come into power, we are recruiting millions of young people who are languishing in the streets into ZNS, into production. We want state farms in every district. We are going to do that because we believe in that and will never shake from it. We are going to create ZNS run mines. Everywhere we have minerals, we are going to generate, to create a ZNS mine. For instance, in Kasisi there, in that mountain, there is gold, and Chinese are digging gold there. And we are looking and we are saying we don't have capacity, there's nothing we can do. Chinese who went there scratching, now it is growing, the mine is growing, they are getting gold. There, next to that mine, there will be a ZNS mine to dig gold. Under ZNS, we are going to have copper mines mushrooming everywhere. In Serenge, people are going, villagers are going barefoot, digging manganese for these foreigners, Indians, and they put manganese, bags of manganese on their head and they are releasing that. They take it, they're making millions. And we are also going to have manganese mines mushrooming as leadership movement under ZNS. And not only that, we are also going to move in to create a mineral reserve agency, just like FRI. When we argue about capacity, ask ourselves, who feeds this country? Is it commercial farmers or peasant farmers? The answer is peasant farmers. Everyone, you can have a small place, you grow maize, and you can sell to FRI. And FRI has got a lot of maize. This is the same way we are going to deal with our mineral resource. We are going to have a mineral reserve agency so that those Jerabos in their backyard, if they don't want to work at ZNS, they will start a mine there. They will produce 1 kg of copper there at their backyard, because we know that the whole Nkana constituency sits on copper. You don't need excavators. You can just dig there. No one gets permission to dig a well at their place. No one gets permission to dig a pit latrine and all those things. And we can produce minerals, and we can sell to mineral reserve agents. And mineral reserve agents is going to have reserve for gold, is going to have reserve for manganese, is going to have reserve for so many minerals that we want.